I am your host of Across Generations, Tiffany D. Cross, and this is the only place where you will hear 3 different perspectives from 3 distinct generations of Black women, and I'm so thrilled to invite you to this conversation. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Across Generations. I'm your host, Tiffany Cross, and wow, do we have a topic to discuss today. Today, we're talking about sexual fluidity. Now, I don't personally believe there is an increase in people who identify as LGBTQ, but I do think shifts in society have made it more socially acceptable to express who you are freely. There's something casual and carefree about one's sexuality that is really, quite frankly, revolutionary. Now, we still have a lot of work to do, but as the New York Times columnist Charles Blow put it, it took a happy-go-lucky sledgehammer to the must-fit-in-a-box binary that constrains and restricts our understanding of the complexity of human sexuality. Now, one dating app found that 23% of Black women are open to dating someone who is or has been sexually fluid. But here's the thing, that number jumps to 44% when looking at the age group of 18 to 24. So most certainly this outlook shifts across generations. And I'll tell you guys, I'm admittedly more the traditional, I fit in one box, I date men exclusively who fit in one box. So I have many questions, as I'm sure many of you do. So let's get into it. And I'm so happy to have 2 women joining me now. Nani Edwards, she's a 30-year-old Spelman College graduate and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She modeled for popular campaigns, designed the Spelman Nike shoe collab. Love it. And in her earlier years, she was in pageants and thrived in her femininity until she decided to fully live in her truth and express herself as the person she truly is. Now, on the other side, we have Revonda Cosby. She's 57 years old. She's a Tennessee State graduate community activist and the executive director of the Arabia Mountain National Heritage Area. She's also a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but some may be surprised to know she previously was married to her son's father, who was also her college sweetheart. So the first thing I want to say, I love that it's a HBCU fest on this set right now. And I just love the diversity of our kind. You know, like we come in all packages. And so as the country, I think, is getting to know Black women in a different capacity, we get to be, we're not homogenous. We get to be, our own individual selves. So I love it. So I talked about like my sexuality. First of all, I know I asked you this off camera, but I just want our audience to know and hear me say I did check, and you guys, she, her, the pronouns. Yes. Although you have another pronoun, you said?
Yeah, I was considering MF.
You can say it. We curse on this podcast. Yeah. She told me that was her pronoun. So
yeah. I recently was introduced, and I thought about it when 18 people went ahead of me with these pronouns, and I was like, what if I were just motherfucker?
I mean, do what you feel. I mean,
right.
Like, I'm not really sticking to pronouns. Like, it's more so, honestly, like, whatever you feel comes to mind. Because sometimes, like, I'll, like, I pass or whatever, I get sirred a lot in the airport, and I'm not like, ma'am, I'm a ma'am.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty ridiculous to me. So it's honestly like, how you feel. Like, I'm very comfortable, she, her, he, him, Nani, I'm not really a big they person. I'm just very, like, singular into who I am. But, to each his own. Like, and, whatever you feel, just be respectful of that.
But you're not offended if somebody says sir?
No, not at all.
Yeah. Do you correct them?
I actually, I like it. I'm like, okay, like, hey, like, okay, I'm past it, whatever. But, it's never that deep to me. Like, it's like, I clearly sometimes, like, look this way, and so it's like, whatever you feel. Like, I don't really care. Yeah.
And you are
not offended. I often tease that I just really learned the alphabets. I ended up liking one person, happened to be a woman. The second person happened to be a woman. And so I'm much like Nani in that. Whatever's comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Not huge on that. Often over the phone, I get called Sir or Mr.
Really?
If I wear a ball cap, which I do all the time, that notoriously, until I turn around or say something. And people are quick to correct themselves. No, ma'am, I didn't mean, or, so it doesn't bother me because I'm comfortable with who I am.
Okay. Yeah, well, since you talked about, you dated 2 women, is that right?
It's safe to say I dated more than 2.
Okay.
I presently am married to 1. Dated more than 2, but 2 serious relationships before entering into a marriage with a woman.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you were married to your college sweetheart, who was a man.
He was.
How long were you guys married?
13 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And when did you guys get divorced because of a sexual awakening, or was it a different reason?
It was a totally different reason. Okay. However, the sexuality reared its head before the divorce was final. And so to me, that became the reason he might have thought, and others who might have said, maybe she was, or maybe I thought she was, but it was not the reason at all. Not nearly.
Now, when you say it reared its head, how did it rear its head?
Before the divorce or the ink was final and we were literally divorced, I met someone. And so while struggling, trying to get a divorce, chase a brother down to sign the paper, I fell in love. So at the divorce proceedings, she was there.
She bold. She gonna be bold.
And that was,
man.
I didn't want her there. And that was somewhat awkward for, him, I felt like, and the friends that had supported him that day, because we'd not had our conversation yet. My son was aware to the extent that he could at that age, but it wasn't as, it really just opened up something that added to the layer while I was already trying to manage a parenting plan, post-divorce, half the lawnmower, who gets the poodle. It just, the timing was really bad for me.
Well, who got the poodle?
I got it first and then he got it.
Okay. For custody.
It went where the kid went.
Yes. Okay. And you guys only had one child?
One son.
A son. Okay. How did you meet the woman who ended up at the divorce proceeding?
How did I meet her? Through a mutual friend.
Okay.
Yeah, a college friend that had known her. And I'll be completely honest, after the divorce, I was just excited to be free. Mm-hmm. I wasn't looking for anything. I was trying fun on in various ways all the time, traveling. And I honestly feel like I sold my lust that day. I said something to a friend in passing. We were at a fun weekend time, and she introduced me to someone. And it was the first time I thought, I guess I could. I don't know. I was just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the lady liked me.
What did you say? I want to hear what game would you spin, right? You said something.
That day in there, I was shown her. She did not know. My friend was like, look, there she is. You think she's cute? No? Like, yeah, not bad. No. What did she say? So once she filled me in on the conversation, about a week later, she ended up in my town. Calls, I'm 45 minutes away. You know anybody in town? I just wanted to, hang out a little bit. And I was like, okay. First I called a friend. Hey, the lady called. The lady is calling me. And she's like, talk to the lady. And that kind of started it. I invited her over and we started a friendship.
But how long ago was that?
That was in 2002.
Okay.
So that was the first woman I'd ever met and entertained a serious relationship with that really got my attention in a way that a heterosexual relationship had gotten it.
Yeah.
So you're in your 30s?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah. Early 30s.
Because I'm 30, so I'm just trying to get some
timeline.
Yeah,
early 30s.
Okay, cool.
Have you ever had a relationship with a man?
Yeah, it's really funny. When it's a whole story about how I was in my feminine ways and then transformed here. But when I, started being more comfortable, getting out of my tomboyness in my new school, whatever, I was like, okay, I don't want to get bullied. So I'm just going to fall into my girliness. And, I was a cute girl, whatever. So I was getting attention from guys in ninth grade. So it's funny, I've had a new boyfriend every year in high school. So I had 4 boyfriends in high school. And, it was cool. I was just going through the motions and this is kind of what I'm supposed to do. And I kind of just put my tomboyness and my masculinity kind of to the background, to be the perfect girlfriend type. So I had experience with dating guys and then dated a guy all the way up until my sophomore year in college. And it was always long distance. So, it was okay, but it just felt like something was missing still. I just felt like it was just too lackluster. And, the guys weren't really dominating how I felt like I could. And it just kind of got boring. And just in college, I was kind of sparking my interest with women and just, and it would be funny with my friends. They'd be like, Nani, you're gay. And I'm like, no, I'm not gay. No, I'm not gay. you know, and they're like, you're gay, Nani. And like, there was just rumors going around because I wasn't seen with guys. But I had a long distance boyfriend, but it wasn't until like I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend, like one of my high school sweethearts, because I was in a whole relationship with a girl at the time. And I was
wait, this is when you were in college?
Yeah, so this was in college.
Okay.
But I have had experience with guys, but it just wasn't the feeling that I was looking for, that like fulfillment. Until like I was in college and started like dating women, and I just had to call a dude up and just be like, I'm so sorry. It was so like heartless. Like I feel so bad because, you know, like he was someone I dated in high school and then in college. And, you know, he was like a really good friend of mine, like my best friend, but like it just something wasn't there, like sexually, mentally, like it just wasn't really fulfilling me for real. So I had to call him up, and like I said, I was so heartless. I was just like, I'm so sorry, this is not gonna work. And he was like so confused. I never gave him any reason of anything until all of a sudden I popped out like how I look now. And then all of my past boyfriends are like, oh, did you see Nani? Did you see Nani? Like, da-da-da-da. You know, and then I was going by the name Nia. So it's this thing on like TikTok where it's like, what's your stud name? What's your real name?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, my real name is Nia. Love my name Nia. But my sister, my younger sister, started calling me Nani as a young age, and that was kind of like my family nickname. But now that I've kind of grown into like who I am today, I just feel like Nani is more fitting for who I am right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's so funny when like my past boyfriend is like, oh, do you see Nia? Like, you see what she looked like now? Like, and then like them taking it personally, like it was about them. And it's like, no, dude, like it was all about me.
Yeah.
And this is just my truth. But yeah.
Well, I have not, this is my first time meeting you, so I don't know what you looked like when you were at Spelman, but my producers have sent me a picture. So I am going to pull up the picture.
It's so funny. To this day, people like will scroll on my Instagram page and go all the way down and like tag people like, did you see this? And I'm like, hey guys, I'm right here. I can see all your comments.
This
like,
is not, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was a cute girl. 20-inch bust down.
Whoa.
You know
Look at this girl.
Yeah.
Like completely. Look at you. What is this?
I know. It's so funny. People to this day will literally still send me one of my old pictures in the DM.
Wow.
Thinking that they're sending it to someone else. Like, and I'm like, hey, caught you being messy. What you sewing this for?
Yeah.
And they're like,
I mean,
fine.
Yeah.
You were fine then. You fine now.
Right,
sis.
you're beautiful. You're beautiful
Right.
either way.
So
but I mean, having gone to Clark, like I know this AKA. You know, like I know
Yeah.
this girl
So
on
freshman
campus.
year pageant. I was running for Miss Freshman.
Wow. Did you win?
I was first attendant.
Okay.
So I was like second place. But then again, I was still like in my tomboyish ways.
Yeah.
That for the talent portion, I was doing Taekwondo. So I was like being niggas' ass. Like, you know, breaking boards. Like, you know, in a sports bra with the bust down, you know what I'm saying? So, and, you know, but like the dudes were like, oh, I'd rather see the splits than the dancer. So, you know, young guys, they'll vote for the splits and the dancers. But no shame, but you know, like.
Well, when you see this girl, what do you think?
I mean, I see like a beautiful, thriving, confident woman. Like, I don't like fear away or shut that part of me out because like literally seeing myself like that, I'm just like, wow, like you are so diverse. I am so diverse in who I am and everything of who I could be and what God has made me to be. Yeah. And that was just my journey and my time. And, you know, like, and I made it look good. And
when you see this girl, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm fine as hell. Like, who I am, honestly, like the confidence.
I put up the camera.
So funny. No, that was cute that you did that. Yeah. But, you know, it is like, when I look in the mirror and like look at myself and I'm like, wow, like how far you have come. Because with my story, I literally went from 20-inch bust down, like in heels, that AKA girl, to all of a sudden posting on Instagram with, you know, like my hair kind of like half up, half down, more like boyish clothes. And then like casually like cutting my hair to it's like a shorter like curl to like my stages of where I am now with a fade and without explaining anything to anybody. Like, I didn't say, hey guys, I'm thinking about doing this now and kind of giving like a preface or a disclaimer. I just did it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, the audacity that I had to do that, especially being in a sorority, you know? And like,
what did your line sister say?
Yeah, so my line sisters, my prophytes, it's been a blessing. Like, everyone has been so supportive of me and still embrace me because it's a sisterhood regardless. And I can only say that from like in my circle for what I know. You know, people have their thoughts and things to say like behind my back, and I was raised on whatever someone has to say about you is just none of your business. So I stay in my circle and my love. And I've been blessed that my sorority sisters like have embraced me from the jump. Like, even now, like when I'll maybe like have gone viral because I'm at my prophyte's wedding, right? And it's a tradition with AKAs that you have to hold hands and we sing our song. And you know, like it's the back of my head, so you see the spade and this tux. And so on like TikTok, and everybody's like, you know, who's that man in the circle? Like, is that her husband? Oh, I didn't know AKA was doing that now. You know, saying all the weird stuff. And to my defense, every single time are my prophytes and my line sisters and my neos. Like, yeah, that's Nani the boss. Like, get with it, get lost type. You know, and just it's honestly like that's the circle that I embrace.
And your parents?
Yeah, so my parents now, like, they're my biggest fans. especially like my mom is literally like uplifted me on a pedestal now. It's funny though, because it's taken a long time coming. Like with my mom, you know, and like just touching base on that, you know, like I said, growing when I was little, right? I was very tomboyish. I wanted to wear the boys' clothes, wanted to wear the corduroys, the sneakers, the zip pants, the boys' toy from McDonald's. So much so that when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my dad asked me, like, Nia, do you feel like a boy or do you feel like a girl? You know, and in the 90s to ask me something like that, like my parents were so like beyond their years of loving me, so much so that they cared my opinion as a child. And I told him, like, matter of fact, like, a boy. Like, why are you asking me this? And that's my dad was like, oh, okay. So you have something to work with here. You know, my mom was just very like, I think because she just thought maybe it was a phase or I was just like a kid. So, and my mom loved me so much. So whatever I wanted, like I would have and I would wear. There would be times she would try to throw me in a dress and I would throw a temper tantrum, like on picture day. Like I did not want to wear this dress. And so she was like, well, what do you want to wear? And I pulled out my like white button down and this black ribbon that she would put in my hair. And I was like, I want it as a bow tie. And like, she actually did that for me. Moving forward, like when I was in middle school and I went from a very liberal elementary school called the Children's School in Atlanta, and you could wear anything. So I was wearing pants and things. Then I went to Woodward Academy in 7th grade where we had to wear uniforms. And I'm, you know, come to the first day of school in pants because that's what I know. Come to find out, I didn't realize that I would be called like a dyke and like, oh, you're gay. And I'm like, I'm literally like in 7th grade. I don't know what you're talking about, but I feel like the energy is not right and I'm getting bullied. And so I was bullied into wearing skirts because that's what the girls wore. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And that's when I leaned more into my femininity, and my mom loved it because she saw like a mini me, right? So I was just in that whole space all the way up into college. And then after college, that's when I realized like I wanted to look like how I feel. And I started, like, I cut my hair. My mom was like, whoa, what are you doing? Why did you do that? And I, you know, and I was kind of like scared to really like talk to her. But I started wearing the clothes I wanted to wear, and she did not like that. Like we bumped heads like crazy. And to this day, she will deny it because she loves me so much. And she's like, I would have never done that. And I'm like, you did, Mom. I was traumatized because like I didn't want to disappoint her, didn't want to disappoint my mom. It's like, I'm not doing this to hurt you on purpose. Like, and she took it that way. And so much so, I mean, like there have been times where she would not even like acknowledge me or introduce me to people because she was, I think, like ashamed.
Wow.
Mhm.
And I know that really does hurt her. And I love you, Mom, if you're watching this.
Yeah.
But this is my story. And, you know, there was a time like I was getting dressed to go to work, and I work for a law firm. So I'm wearing khakis and a blazer with my hair. And she just comes out and was like, why are you doing this? You do not look your best. And we got into this huge argument. I left, slammed the doors in the house, crying. I get a call from my dad. Come to the office. Let's talk. I'm probably at this point, I'm like 22. So right out of college. And I go to my dad's office, and he just gets up and he embraces me. And it was my dad that embraced me. And I just bawled in tears because I'm like, oh my God, like I feel seen by my parents. And he said, you know what? I was just waiting on you to tell me. He's like, do you remember when I asked you? And he was like, let's go suit shopping because you got to look good when you're in your office. And he took me to K&G. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like 22, so I'm putting on these like big old suits and I'm like drowning in them. He's like, yeah, maybe we need to get them tailored. I was like, let's go to Top Man. Like Top Man, there's more like, it's more like European cut and like, you know, tailored to your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you got me my first suits. And then honestly, like, I just went through just being me and like unapologetically.
Yeah. And
seeing people like give me that attention, that love, and my mom just like seeing like everybody just loving her baby.
Yeah.
And you know, it really made her like change her mindset. Like, I'm being crazy. I love my daughter too much to push her away, that I'm going to embrace and learn and understand. And now you can't tell my mom anything. She's literally like on my hip, like, this is, you know, my prodigy, like, you know, and supporting and loving in my relationships and all the good things.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but you hearing this story, like, because you came to this realization later in life.
I did.
So we hear this young woman's journey, but for you, did you have the same reception?
Well, I have a question before I answer that. Is your mother an AKA as well?
She became an AKA after I became an AKA because she just loves everything that I do. And she's like, you know, seeing the sisterhood that I have, she's like, I want that type of sisterhood and connection too. Yeah. And so my mom then became an AKA after.
Did you pledge her?
I did.
You were hazing her up in the kitchen.
I made sure she was sharp. But yeah, it was a beautiful experience. And now we're literally like this.
I love that for you. I really do.
Big hand clap to your dad.
Yes.
No, that was necessary.
Black fathers matter. Okay.
And
so
they
shout
do
out
protect
to him.
Black girls. They do protect Black girls.
No, bless his heart.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, mine was a little different. Having been in a traditional marriage per my parents, the one thing when I got ready to end the marriage, even before the gay thing came up, my parents weren't ready for me to be married. So they didn't want to say, I told you so. And I don't know if they were thinking, because you're gay or that. But so that chapter ended. And that was painful enough because when you first get married and you're the first person to graduate college and everything was on me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize separating my family was separating my family from the in-laws, from my son, from the people next door, from the folks that like the guy. My brothers and them were attached to him. So that ends, and fast forward, I live my life the way I want to for 2 years. And then I decide that I didn't want to deceive my mother. I knew that having a friend with her, my mother is a truth teller. She's a straight shooter. Don't sugarcoat it, don't omit, don't lie. And I felt like my friendship was leading her to believe that it was my girlfriend or my best friend when I knew that it was changing. And the person was way more forward and a little more advanced than me. They were not new at this, I was. And they were also Greek, not AKA, but so I just needed them to slow down. Let me get Frances ready and right before you go deciding I need to say something to her. So one day, inadvertently, when the feeling had got so great, I just blurted it out. That's not my friend. I love her. And my mother said, what? And she looked at me as if I had said the most disgusting thing in the world. And I remembered her look. She said, why would you say that? And I was like, because it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And she just went to her end of the house, and I stayed on the other end. I got things together, and I got out of there. And we didn't talk about it for a while. Little did I know that the letters that the person had been sending me as we were building this friendship that my ex-husband had gotten, and he had been showing my mother. So a portion of them convinced themselves that this was what was my issue. This is why your daughter can't have a marriage. And this sick girl is out here getting your baby.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of presented that way. So I don't regret telling her the way I did and when. It was more important for her to know that I did not want her to feel deceived and that this is not what you think. We can talk about what it is, but Mom, that is not my friend. Mom, I am not around the corner. Mom, I am out of town having the time of my life with a girl.
Yeah.
Every trip you took was to such and such. When you went, y'all were in, and she was not well with that.
Yeah.
But my aunts were. And those ladies who had built me up my whole life, who had surrounded me, who had told me great things and the truths about everything, said, she's going to be fine.
Okay.
I said, huh? My aunt, the one that is her bestie, said, listen to me. She'll be fine. You got that grandchild. You going down that road. You go live the rest of your best life. Your mother is still proud of you. This is just her thing to swallow. And I was like, okay, it sure doesn't feel like that, though. So I moved out of town, came down here, started life over. Without her in my corner, without her chatting to me. She would talk on the phone to my son and hang up by the time I got home, which was cool because he had Mimi in the corner, so I felt great. They planned meals together when he come in, and he was also upset at the same time for me changing cities. Not the gay thing, but Dad is not down here, you change cities, and Mimi's not talking to us? I don't know what you're doing, Mom. Yeah, this 7-year-old was like, all he kept saying is, are we still rich? Are you going to still have your job?
Yeah.
I was like, hey, we were not rich, and yes, we're going to still have a job. You can still have a house, you can still have a room. And the lady's going to live with us? I was like, the lady's going to live with us. And he was like, man.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of manage. Post-divorce was fresh, young child, changing cities, moving grandson, dad in ear on weekend. What is your mom doing? So a lot of mine was kind of like a gumbo, but what I watched my mother do was she was only going to let people talk about me so long. So she kind of got her stuff together. Something brought her to Atlanta. And my godmother, whose family, called and said, we're at a play to see Tyler Perry at the Civic Center. Come over here. And I was like, I want to come, but I don't want my feelings hurt. She was like, come over here, get us off this bus. When I pulled up, that little woman got off the bus, got in the front seat. I drove her to my house. My son ran out, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Literally. I don't know that we revisited. I don't know that she told me what it was. She just said, we're going to be fine. And it went from there.
Shout out to Black mamas, but also shout out to Black aunties.
Yeah.
Because you had,
too. My grandma had to tell my mom, be like, look, baby, like, you need to get with, like, this is your daughter. And, you know, like, this is more important. And it was literally my grandma that had to talk to my mom, you know, and that my mom sees her mother as literally like a goddess.
That's right.
So it's like, okay, you know, I'm the one that needs to redirect my thinking and, you know, have more of an open heart. So it is important for like our families and extended families to maybe sometimes like help gear the conversation for understanding.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm curious to know, you know, like does your mom like fully accept the relationship now? Or like how did that happen?
Totally different.
Yeah.
First woman, I feel like your parents think they do it to you because her parents probably felt the same way about me, right? Her children adored me. We put a life together, spent 9 years. My mother loved her children, but was still a little standoffish with old girls, still friends with kids to this day. They will come in town to see this woman.
Yeah.
Second woman, fast forward, she looked more like my mother. Shorter, a little more stouter, a little softer, not as rough, was a hairstylist, took her mom to the end. My mom saw more of what she hoped was more feminine and less dykish in this girl. And so she would sit her at the table with my aunts on Sunday and just like it was old times, even more closeness than I felt I had at times. But that led me to know that she cared about me being with someone that cared about me. And she didn't have that feeling from the first person entirely. So then fast forward to who I'm married with now, my mother has made it clear that if you leave her, I'm going with her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know Patrice in the wheel. What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
How long have you been married?
10 years. I just celebrated 10 years.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
In July.
I love that.
So, I wonder, because you were so young when you went through this, and you're
I was mid-30s.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're older than Nani. So I wonder, do you think, looking back on your life, that maybe you would have come to this, been open about this realization earlier?
I do.
Yes.
I do. I definitely do. And I know that I probably would have gotten here. And the person that I was most concerned about in this order was my grandmother, who by this time was deceased, my son, and my mother. And when my aunts assured me that your grandmother wouldn't have had a problem with it, that just gave me a peace. And then I always wanted to know how my mother named me. So I made up this story, right, that she studied French in school, blah, blah, blah. My aunt said, it was a girl at our college. Her name was Revonda. She named you after Ravonda. And I was like, did she have a crush on her? And she said, I did not say that, but she was a very sharp dresser. There were things about her. She was smart. She was like an organizer on campus. And those are all the things that I like to do and kind of have walked in my career during college and after and now. And so I just always found that very interesting. She was lighter complected like my dad. She was tall and lean. I've never asked her, but I said I will upon, the final moment. Was that girl your girlfriend?
Yeah.
It took, I don't know. It took my aunt, her best friend, a family aunt, saying, who went away to college with her, that's where your name came from.
Wow.
And I was like,
One step at a time.
Yeah.
One step at a time. Because I was like, with my mom and like my relationships with women, because I'm like a monogamous dater, like a very what is it? A serial dater. Like I was
a serial monogamous.
Yes, a serial monogamous. Yeah, like I was literally in a relationship basically like every year of my life. And it's crazy. I know I'm a Libra and I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But anyway, when I started dating women, starting like 2014. So I had a girlfriend literally 2014, I had a girlfriend 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019.
Different girlfriends.
Yeah, different girlfriends. And mind you, they're all straight. I've actually have never dated another girl.
If they were your girlfriend, they weren't straight.
You said what?
If they were your girlfriend, they weren't straight.
Well, yeah. It's funny.
You're saying you were the first.
I was their first
woman relationship with women. Okay.
And not even like they were like thinking about it before. They actually were in, like, their exes would be like football players, like rappers, like hard, dudes. Like, and then I come along and they're like, what? And like their whole like everything shifts. And then all of a sudden they're like, I don't know if I'm gay, but I just love
like you.
I just like you, you know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
And to like my mom, like beginning of me dating women, like she was just like, didn't even want to hear their name, didn't even want to know what was going on, didn't care. Then like kind of like loosened up and like I invited one of my girlfriends to on like a family trip, and my mom wouldn't even acknowledge her, look at her, anything, and then they would like offer her like a drink, but that was like the closest it's got to now with my current girlfriend. My mother literally at first was like, as long as you are happy and she makes you happy and she takes care of you like you take care of her. And I was like, yes, but I'm like, I reassured her that this is the one. Like, I am so happy. I finally feel fully fulfilled. And so much so that she has blessed our relationship. I mean, like my mom and my girlfriend, Ashley, like they are literally like this now. Like they talk about and have their own kikis and like what's it called? Like personal inside jokes. And that makes me feel so good because I feel like we are finally becoming a family.
Yeah.
Even more so, like, like I said, like none of my girlfriends in the past have had girlfriends before me. And
including Ashley.
Ashley, in fact, like she actually has a now 11-year-old daughter. So, she was with her like high school sweetheart. and was with him. Then they ended their relationship. They had their baby and they ended their relationship. And Ashley was dating different guys, never even thought about being with a girl before. Is there
something attractive about that to you, that you're the first?
So that's the thing. People think like, oh, you're trying to turn girls out. And it's like, no, I literally just am living my life and I'm a go-getter. Like if I want something, anything in life, I'm going to go get it respectfully. And honestly, like with Ashley, I've had a huge crush on her since 2017. And I've been wanting to pursue her, but through like social media, because it was like kind of long distance. But she kind of always like ignored me because she's like, who's this girl in my DM again? You know what I'm saying? Like until she saw me in person. And I was like, and she saw my vibe and, and was like naturally like engaging with me. But I don't get a kick out of it.
Have you ever dated somebody who you were not there first? I've
had like little hookups with other girls who've been with other girls. But as far as a relationship, like serious, all of those women have been literally with guys, period. Never even thought about being with a girl, period. And then they got with me and now like they were, we in love. And so I was like, unfortunately, like I'm just not the one for you right now. And then I met the one for me.
Yeah. And you think Ashley's the one for you?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We have a whole family. Like, I'm literally like a stepdaddy now.
So, but you're saying stepdad and not stepmom.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, because it does feel like this. It's like
a Brittany Griner moment. Pops.
Yeah, I mean, because I think, like, Cheryl Griner, she calls her like daddy sometimes,
Yeah.
So I do, but you identify as a woman.
So and that's the topic, I guess, about fluidity, right? Gender fluidity. Like it's not black and white, like a lot of like, hetero relationships, it's this way and there's that way. There's this norm, there's this role, and there's that role. But sometimes in like, in this fluid, like, space of a relationship, it's not always so clear. Like I identify as a masculine presenting woman, as in like I know I'm a woman, like I know that the power that I have as being a woman, but certain things like I carry myself with more masculine,
and Ashley's more feminine.
Oh yeah, Ashley,
so is it the same in your relationship?
My wife's a total femme.
Really? So are there ever times where there's more, I don't know the proper terminology, but I mean, is it stud? Is that what you would say?
There's like stud, there's stem, like feminine and stud, there's dyke.
Is there ever like feminine and feminine together?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
But are you all attracted to more feminine presenting women?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
it just
I
has to do
find
with your type.
non-attractive, but I've typically been in relationships with more feminine presenting.
And in your home, are the gender roles, like, are you more of, I don't know, like in a traditional relationship, who's pumping the gas when y'all go get gas?
Me.
Yeah.
Me.
But who's getting the rat? Patrice, who's
getting the rat?
Who's putting like the bikes together and equipment and the remotes and the ceiling fan? Patrice.
Ashley is quick to put together some constructive things, but we'll do that together. But Ashley is like, I'm like, I'm gonna call the maintenance person. She's like, why? When we can do this, and do it ourselves. Like, Ashley had me over here fixing the pipes under the sink, and she was doing it herself. And I was like, girl, back up. Let me handle this. I can handle this now. And she's over here looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and then we're just doing them together.
Do you think you have always known since birth?
No.
You developed.
I think it was there, but I don't think I came into that realization until maybe high school, where I began to entertain it. But I was not sexually active, so that side of me was not curious about anyone if that's what I was to try first. Not getting kissed, not getting fingered, not anything. I didn't try anything.
Yeah.
So I wasn't under those traditional pressures. I had an off and on boyfriend in high school. I had a guy at the end of high school I liked a whole lot that was older. But I found that when I thought about it, I wasn't impressing relationships where a guy wanted to get at me in that way. They were really nice guys. So either they knew or they just know she's not going to compromise herself for a girl or a guy this early. I had decided I wasn't. So I wasn't under those traditional pressures. When I did come out, the people on both sides still liked me. It didn't turn anyone away. Like if I would meet someone, I found more straight women coming on to me who were comfortable with who I was, and all of a sudden they're gay now telling me, and I'm like,
all of a sudden.
But are they straight
What?
women if they're coming on to you?
I mean, I think they could be. Like,
But to me, if you are attracted to a woman, and I want to hone in on something you said, because you said that you weren't sexually active, so there wasn't, right. But the thing is, I wasn't sexually active for a long time either, but I always knew I liked boys. I didn't have to experience it to know. Like from birth, I've always known I like boys.
And you liked how it felt for people to see you like boys and tell you that a boy was fine. But if you met a fine woman, you go somewhere and they come on, no one ever tried to pick you up that was a woman?
Yes. Lesbians have definitely tried to, but I knew it wasn't for me. Like I wasn't, like I wasn't curious.
True.
I wasn't like, okay, well, let me try this,
Yeah.
And I've dealt with some really shitty men, and I still wasn't. It still wasn't. But it wasn't. I know I have friends. I have a friend who dated women for years, and now she's with a man, and she was like exclusively since like a teenager dating women, and then she met a man, and now they're very happy together. I've seen the gamut.
Right.
I've seen all kind of things. So so I'm pretty. Like none of this is like strange. Like I'm accepting it. I understand it. Yeah. But for my own life, I'm more traditional. So when you say like, oh, straight women are coming on to me, my immediate thought is, well, then they ain't straight if they coming on to you.
I mean, honestly, I do feel like everyone has their likes and dislikes. Period. Like. Just because I'm gay, I'm not gonna like every girl I see. Just because you know what I'm saying.
Of course,
like
I don't like every man I see.
Right. So I think it just comes to the point of like personality, of looks, of feeling, of connection, and that's when you can like and then letting go the societal norm of how you're going to be looked at.
Yeah.
Then when you factor all those things, like anything I think is possible. Now, at the end of the day, like when you have your preference, you have your preference. Like I would never date another man again. Like
you won't.
Oh no. Because
would you?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah. So I know that if I get unmarried, I'm not getting married again to a guy, a girl, a llama, a cow. It doesn't matter. But I'm not convinced that I would date another man. I will not tell you that I couldn't imagine myself going out, because if there's something I like to do and you're the provider of it, excluding sex, I will hang out with you, right? If I want to drive a NASCAR, and
that's totally fair.
You're the guy that owns a NASCAR, then I'm going to hang out with you.
Yeah.
But you would not sexually. You never want to experience a man again sexually.
No, ma'am.
And you, same.
Oh, yeah, no. Just like you never even think about being with a woman is the same way I feel like I would never be with a man. No. It's just one of those things. Like once you find your thing and what you like, it's just nobody can sway you from that. Like no matter the prettiest girl, the finest girl, whoever got the money you're like, that's cute for you, but no.
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't speak to a sexual part of me.
It doesn't speak to me.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't.
I mean, if it did, I wish I would go find somebody my size, my height, double my wardrobe. Like I would do it, but it's not my persuasion. Okay. So I mean, to me, we're talking about sexual fluidity, but it really feels like gender fluidity, because y'all aren't really fluid. Y'all are saying like, nope, it's a no for me when it comes to men.
I'm good.
Yeah, you're good. Been there, done that. You're not going back. So pansexuality is a term that's pretty open now, but it first appeared in 1914 as the word pansexualism in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology, which I imagine is quite offensive to hear. Abnormal.
It's weird to say abnormal. Like,
right.
We're humans with different experiences.
Exactly.
Like, you just let it flow.
So now the term pansexual has been used in its current sense since like the late 60s. So we've come a long way. We have a long way to go. Its popularity has increased in recent years. And so Janelle Monáe is somebody who came out the closet. And, honestly, she came out as pansexual in 2018. And she was on the cover of Rolling Stone and revealed that she's non-binary. And she said she didn't see herself just as a woman solely. And after the interview, pansexual became one of the most widely searched terms in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. And she does she, her, or they, them. Those are her pronouns. But so when this happened with Janelle Monáe, I did wonder, I'm like, I think it's just something more socially acceptable, honestly, about women in society. Not obviously, this is not me personally, but I think society there's something romantic about it. There's something lustful about it. Every men love to, hear a lesbian story. It's not the same with men. So I think of Wayne Brady, who was married with 2 children. He came out as pansexual this year, in 2024, in his 50s. And he says he's attracted to the person, regardless of their sex or gender. So, I
feel like,
with the man-woman thing, though, I do feel like men have a harder time with things
and
like
I think that just comes with the problem of people associating being gay with sex.
Yes.
Only.
And only.
And first.
Which, first. If you're gay, oh, you're a sexual person. Relax. No. It's just there are different ways to experience intimacy and connection and understanding one another as human beings.
Yeah.
Right? And when you understand that concept first, then you would understand that it's not it shouldn't be sexualized, and I think that, it comes in hand with women are seen as to be sexual beings. So you're pairing women and then being gay, you're like, oh my God, a whole bunch of sex. It has nothing to do with that,
No.
And so if a man wants to feel a certain type of intimacy with another man, there's other ways to feel that way of connection than just thinking whatever they're doing in the bedroom, which should be none of anyone else's business anyway. So.
But people are caught up with the sexual part of it.
Absolutely.
And, you're
people
married.
are caught up with sex, period.
But it's with hetero relationships.
Right.
I'm not thinking about what y'all, a man and woman, what y'all do in the bedroom.
And that's the point that I'll make about same gender loving people. When you're married, you go on months without doing anything, without having sex, you raising kids, you beefing, you have all the same things that heterosexual couples have. I mean, I have people in my life who are same gender loving people in committed relationships, and they go through the same things. So I think people are so caught up. Sometimes I think with men who have, these very anti-LGBTQ attitudes, regardless of gender. They look at women and they're like, look, I'm disgusted, and how dare you? I really think it's envy sometimes. They
freedom.
feel right.
Yeah. You just want to be loved that way too.
Or they feel rejected. They feel
they
inferior. They're like, you don't want me, you know? And then on the other side, if they're looking at men, I'm like, it's weird that you randomly have so much hate towards gay people. I think it's some self-hate there. You certainly...
If a man is so extra homophobic, it's
there's something else,
right?
There's something else.
Boosie is one of those people.
Oh, yeah.
Boosie has so much. I'm like, you sure think about dick a lot for somebody who allegedly hates it so much. This seems to be a big thing on your mind.
Understand with yourself, and
right?
When you understand yourself, then you don't care about what someone else is doing. You just don't.
Any man out there who acts like that. I mean, it's always a question mark for me. I'm like, why you so hateful towards it? I think you got some proclivities.
Actually, in fact, men are proven more promiscuous anyway.
Yeah.
To experience it, to get off, to do something. That is just in the nature of testosterone for men. So, it's at the end of the day, it's dude, are you comfortable with yourself? Or are you just letting all types of anything feel?
Yeah.
Same gender relationships, numbers say, last longer also. So I always say to people who are judging the situation and not looking at it, why is that? Because authentically, we are no longer hiding. We are not masking nearly as much. There are other things and layers to us that we're dealing with. But for the most part, when you have found your place and rested and have compatibility with someone that has your back, I'm not going to struggle with the top 10 things that end most heterosexual divorces. It's just not happening. The numbers don't say it. We stay together far longer. I do more counseling of same gender than I do of gay people.
Yeah.
I have more couples call to say, man, we need to come talk to you and your wife.
Yeah.
Y'all have date nights, y'all have goals, y'all have da. Yes. And I always layer with, and my wife is an amazing off the screen. I cannot say it enough how fun this woman is.
Yeah.
For real, I got everything I wanted in that.
I'm jealous. I mean, I hear y'all talking and I'm like, damn, why was I cursed with heterosexuality? Because some of these relations, it's easier, I think. So specifically, when it does come to same gender loving, what is a specific issue that I would never understand that you go through as being someone in a same-sex relationship? You told us before something about a valet.
Well, that's kind of small, but let me go back to the parents.
Well, the example you gave, when you go to the valet, they don't open your door.
They don't open my door.
But
They look in that car.
Me, I see myself more masculine, where it's like, I'll open my own door. Like, I'm not looking for anybody to open nothing for me. Like,
but you want somebody to open your door.
I pulled in valet. I'm paying. Open this door.
Sure. Yeah.
Don't make the assumption. Pull around and get everyone. And even when I have my children in the car and my daughter's in the back, I tell the valet, get my daughter out first on the back side. So he's like, oh yeah, we just didn't know people were in the car.
Yeah.
One of the things is people, like, it wasn't until we got in a situation like death in the family where folks really said what they were thinking about us. Like, I don't know if I want them to sit together at the service. Like, her brother died recently. And the Lewises, y'all know I love you, and I'm sure this will make their way to you. My wife has 2 pastors as parents. So this gay thing didn't fly well, still doesn't fly well, but they believe in treating people right? So we've come a long way in that relationship.
Yeah.
But when her brother died recently, I know there was concern about having us at the wedding. At the funeral. I know when they wrote the obituary, I was very curious to see how my name, was I going to be friend or omitted? Because I saw the brother's spouses were listed. I was in there. That was large. This has never happened. We can't even stay in the same room at the house. This was the first year we could stay in the same room. It had twin beds, but that's progress. The other thing is when people assume that we have roles that we play, and we don't have roles that we play. We are whatever our family and unit need.
You explained that to me.
Literally. People react to me differently when I say wife. Like, I can be somewhere making comments and they'll say, how's your family doing or whatever? And I'll say, but my wife is fine. I kind of watch what happens and how people that I might have thought I was going to talk to, I'm not going to get to talk to after this for saying that. I've noticed it.
Yeah.
But when I see others in that circle that are affirming, say my friends Angel and Gaza walk up to me and they're not as homophobic and they say it, I watch the reactions of others change. When I go for buying cars or loans, there's just an assumption, they want to make sure everything is good. Or is this your daughter? I'm 12 years older than my wife, so I often get confused with being the other person. I always get past the check. I don't think they assume we cry. We have those real feelings behind the thing. It's just y'all stuff.
Yeah.
When it gets real for us, we're a little gun shy to talk to people about it. Like, will they believe we have the real concerns and arguments? It took us finding some really cool, comfortable couples that we could completely be ourselves with, who have grown through us to say, love is love.
Right.
These folks are arguing about the same stuff.
Exactly.
She don't like your mama, she don't like your kids.
It's an interesting thing that you're saying, because I do think some of this is geographical, right? Like, I split my residence between D.C. and New York City. And so if somebody... I'm obsessed with dogs. So I stop and play with a dog. And if it's a guy outside, I'm like, oh, is he waiting for mommy? He's like, oh, he's waiting for his other daddy. Like, it's just not a big deal. Like, you see it all the time. If I'm like, oh, are you married? And it's a woman, he says, oh yeah, my wife is around the corner. Like, it's so common. It is not a thing. You don't blink twice. I want to ask you because, this is a controversial person. I honestly, y'all don't cancel me. I find Dave Chappelle to be a funny person. And when he walked through the LGBTQ in his comedy special, not his stuff on transgendered people, but on the LGBTQ dynamics, I'm just curious your thoughts about that, because I thought the point he was making about gay white men, I did understand that point very well. I did, because there is the intersectionality of being Black and gay is something very different. And I can't be the white man's champion in any kind of conversation. And there is a difference in how Black gay men are treated, how Black gay women are treated. So I'm just curious, as someone, I'm not in the community, but I'm certainly an ally, and I want to be corrected if I'm not honoring the community well. I'm just curious how you all receive that humor from him.
I am a huge Dave Chappelle fan and follower. I take a lot of my cues from Dave. I was not put out or offended. I'm glad he stood his ground and he said what he said and he circled back.
Yeah.
If any comedian can take fire and be held accountable and brought into a room, it is our brother Dave Chappelle. I remain a Dave Chappelle friend. He has his opinions like we all do.
Yeah.
Not every single thing he's ever said, but I do think he was spot on.
Yes.
I do think he was spot on. And I thought it was hilarious.
I laughed when he was talking about about the oppression roads, and he was like, the gay white men were like, we know those roads. We built those roads. I'm like, absolutely they did.
I mean,
absolutely.
he's a comedian, and like anything is gonna be on topic for a comedian. Like it just really just takes like people to be comfortable with yourselves. And there are so many other like champions and activists that are present as well to kind of like shade any type of like harmful rhetoric that could be out there. But at the end of the day, like you should take it as comedy and leave it at that.
Yeah.
Obviously be respectful of people's feelings and acknowledge that. But at the same time, like, we live in this world where everything is up for grabs. So it's like, are you gonna like cry with it, or are you just gonna like move forward and, like just like that's the thing. Like when I first got thrown out into that space of going viral and like people seeing me outside of my circle and saying really like weird, hurtful things, or I'm like, not hurtful to me because I don't care, but things that could be taken as hurtful. I'm just thinking like, why are you so confused? Like, just live life.
Well, some of this I think is generational as well, right? Because there are definitely older people who are like, Dave is funny, like whatever. And then younger people in the community who are like, no, I don't support it. I don't like it.
And they're new to offense. They haven't lived long enough. They're going to be offended by flies on the barbecue that we're going to steal.
Yes.
Can I say this?
Yes,
Dave
ma'am.
is someone like Robin Williams, like Chris Rock, like Jimmy Kimmel, a few other folks that I trust with big issues and delicate situations. If anyone were to say it first and take it on, Chappelle was our guy.
Yeah.
Chris is someone that they cover volatile things all the time. And so I trust them both. I don't have reason to believe that they don't have friends on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
When Dave has had to show up for others in situations, to include Kanye and others, Dave has been authentic and real and said what it was to be said about a friend or a thing.
Yeah.
And I was pretty glad that it was him.
Yeah.
I was. I trust Dave.
Yeah.
I do. And you can say something to Dave if you don't like it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I agree. And people did say something to him. I think the generational divide in some of this, because I'll admit when we get into the conversation around transgender issues, that was something that I think I may have been on the wrong side of history. It took me off guard. I didn't have an opinion about it, but I didn't understand. The thing is, it's not for me to understand.
True.
Like it ain't. People get corn on their Chipotle. I'm like, blah, how you do that? But like, it ain't my business. Like, get your corn. But what a friend said to me, which I think is so important, and I just want to share it with the people watching at home, because what I didn't understand about it, it wasn't changing the gender. That part, it just wasn't for me to get. It was changing the gender. And then sleeping with someone of the same, like having a sexual relationship with someone of the same gender. Yeah. And someone said to me, who you go to bed with is different from who you go to bed as. And it just made so much sense. I'm like, I get it. I get it. I think the thing is, I have enough curiosity and respect for everyone's humanity to ask, to learn, to know, to normalize whatever's making me uncomfortable. Not too many things make me uncomfortable, but if I did, it was like, I don't really get this whole trans thing. And then you became a woman, now you date women. And that one sentence completely, I'm like, I get it. The pronoun thing, like there's a lot of people are still learning. I appreciate you because they're, again.
I don't get it right all the time. I have a daughter that has an interest in pansexual and fluidity, and she's changed her name recently. And so I don't often get it right. It was a year in our house of us learning to get it right. We went to reintroduce her at her charter school to teachers who had just seen her this way, another way. And we watched her whole village surround. And she was okay with the times that you won't get it right. I know when we go in here, we haven't been around these people before, so y'all don't have to make a big deal and keep correcting them. And I was like, okay, cool. But it's been the pandemic, I think, of all the things that have happened in this last 5 years, made us know that there's something so much greater and more important. And if all we have is death and dying in common, can't we get past a whole lot of other things? Racism is still real in the South. You worrying about my vagina?
Right.
I got something you can work on.
Exactly.
And with people's like identity.
I always put it where it belongs, to me.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's important to note though, because a lot of older people in the LGBTQ community, they say, I don't know what these young folks doing. So even within the community, there is a divide sometimes. There is no one homogenous group of people. And I love that we can be diverse amongst ourselves, you know?
I mean, and that's very important, I mean, I do think it's extremely important to make a conscious effort. Like, hey, if I'm telling you I identify as, this pronoun or this person, like, please make that effort to think before you speak. At the end of the day, we are like adults, or you're teaching your children, like you're enlightening them, like, hey, like be respectful of people's identity.
Yeah.
So like for me, like I don't fly with the like, oh, it's gonna take me time to like, no, like cut the BS, like say it.
That's right.
Like I know there are people still that like call me Nia and and I'll tell them like, hey, I prefer to be called Nani now. Like, like, oh, well, I've known you for so long. Like, for high school, it's like, well, do you know me and love me to respect me?
Yeah.
Because that's how serious I take it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it shouldn't be that difficult. Like you're literally just putting a filter in your mind on purpose because of what your comfortability is. And if you're going to come over here into my space, I'm going to give you the same respect as I want the same respect.
Yeah. Be respectful. That's the bottom line.
And mind your business. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, some things aren't always for you to figure out and be Carmen Sandiego about. Like, let people live their life.
Right.
Because there's so many other things I could judge or think about you, even though you like men and you're a woman. Amazing. Like, live your love. But I'm not going to come into your space and be like, oh, you do that this way.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think
like,
that's all your point.
The Bible, and they're like, oh, the Bible is, you're gay, you're going against like the teachings in the Bible. And it's like, there's so many things in the Bible. It's like, you're picking and choosing with the word you want
that's
to
a whole
through.
other conversation about the Bible.
Right. Leave some chapters out.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Look, I don't know,
Listen, we could have a whole other conversation about the Bible. That's a show for another day, Nani. We gotta get that together. Right. Exactly.
Right.
Well, I thank you both for sharing your story. I learned a lot about you individually, but also about the community. And I hope that you guys tuning in at home learn something, because at the end of the day, we should respect each other's humanity and have some curiosity about maybe people who aren't of your same persuasion, but have enough curiosity. Everyone in this life is deserving of safety and happiness and joy. And you wouldn't want anyone to have an opinion about your joy. So I hope that you can honor that in this conversation. I certainly do. Yeah. And be patient, and I take your point about like how much patience I gotta have for you to be comfortable with who I am.
That's right.
So it's like, get yourselves together and, acknowledge people where they are. But I do ask, be patient with some of us, even people in the community on the older side who like, we don't get what y'all young folks doing. It's like, be a little patient with us, but we have to honor younger people and everyone where they stand. And I wish I had something as artful to say as you did, but I think what you said around the pandemic, and like what we have to worry about, I think that is the best closing thought that one could offer. It's real life stuff happening out here.
Yeah,
and the thing is, when they come for us, they ain't gonna say which one of y'all gay. They coming for all of us.
Right.
So we all one people that we need to lock arms with. So thank you for tuning into another episode of Across Generations. We'll be back next week with an all new episode. I'm your host, Tiffany Cross.